These top 10 queer protest tactics changed history, and here's why we need them even more today. Hi there, I'm Chris with a K, and welcome back to This Week in Queer History, where we celebrate queer moments and icons that I wish I had known about as a young gay kid growing up in conservative America. Queer history is rich with bold, clever protest tactics. And in this video, I cover examples all before the year 2000, from riots and zaps to slogans and creative street actions, all of which significantly advanced LGBTQ rights and visibility. And they all echo our current climate of rising authoritarianism, anti-LGBTQ attacks, and even the cruelties of ICE. And these riots can remind us of this past resistance and help guide our fight today.
This week in queer history, stories told with love and glee.
When we talk about queer protest, it's easy to imagine anger first, but what strikes me again and again is how smart queer resistance has always been. Strategic, creative, and sometimes campy, and sometimes terrifyingly brave, but always intentional. So let's start where so many people do, Stonewall. It's June 28, 1969, and a police raid on the Stonewall Inn in New York City turned into several nights of rebellion, when queer patrons refused to quietly disappear. People threw coins, bottles, bricks. Drag queens formed a kick line in front of the riot police to mock them. Someone ripped up a parking meter and used it as a battering ram. And this wasn't chaos for chaos's sake. It was a community finally saying no more. And within weeks, new activist groups like the Gay Liberation Front formed, and the modern LGBTQ rights movement was born. But Stonewall wasn't the first time queer people fought back. 3 years earlier, in 1966, trans women and drag queens at Compton's cafeteria in San Francisco did something similar. After years of harassment under anti-cross-dressing laws, one woman threw hot coffee in a police officer's face. Tables were flipped, windows shattered, police retreated. The uprising forced San Francisco to confront its treatment of transgender residents, and eventually led to laws being repealed and new trans-specific social services being formed. This was trans resistance, led by trans women of color, long before it was acknowledged in mainstream history. In that same year, 1966, queer activism took a quieter but equally brilliant turn in New York. At Julius's bar, members of the Mattachine Society staged a sip-in. They walked into the bar, calmly announced, "We are homosexuals," and asked to be served. When the bartender refused because serving gay people was considered illegal at the time, they had proof of discrimination. The resulting legal challenge helped overturn laws banning gay bars in New York. A drink became a protest. Fast forward to 1970, 1 year after Stonewall, thousands marched in New York for the first Christopher Street Liberation Day, chanting "out of the closets and into the streets." People risked their jobs, housing, and safety just by showing their faces. But that march became the blueprint for pride celebrations worldwide, turning visibility itself into a political act. In 1972, activists decided to confront power from the inside. At the American Psychiatric Association's annual conference, a masked psychiatrist, later revealed as Dr. John Fryer, took the stage and announced, "I am a homosexual. I am a psychiatrist." His testimony shattered the myth that being gay was a mental illness. 1 year later, in 1973, the APA removed homosexuality from the DSM, ending decades of medicalized stigma. Standing up and speaking out can change the world. Then came 1977, when Anita Bryant launched her Save Our Children campaign to roll back gay rights. Activists fought her with boycotts, chants, and one unforgettable moment. She was hit in the face with a cream pie at a press conference. The image went viral, before viral was even a concept. Humor disarmed hate, and Bryant's influence collapsed soon after. In 1978, California faced the Briggs Initiative, which aimed to ban gay teachers. Harvey Milk urged queer people to come out to their neighbors and families, and visibility won. Proposition 6 was defeated, marking the first time voters rejected an anti-gay ballot measure. Again, coming out and speaking up against hate helped turn the tides. Then the 1980s hit, and a plague began to spread. As AIDS ravaged the community, ACT UP emerged with the powerful and activating slogan, "Silence equals death." They staged die-ins, disrupted government agencies, and famously shut down the FDA in 1988, demanding faster drug approval. Within months, policies changed, saving countless lives. In 1992, grief itself became a protest. During the Ashes Action, activists poured ashes of loved ones who had passed away from AIDS onto the White House lawn. It was raw, devastating, and impossible to ignore. The message was clear. Politicians were responsible. Their inaction had brought the fight to their doorstep. That same year, the lesbian Avengers took protest into theatrical territory. In response to a deadly arson attack of Hattie Mae Cohen's and Brian Mock, the lesbian Avengers began eating fire at demonstrations, symbolizing survival and rage. At the First Dyke March in Washington, D.C. in 1993, thousands watched as lesbians quietly and literally swallowed flames, refusing to be erased by hate or violence. And across all these decades, tactics shifted from uprising to rituals, from pamphlets to performance. But one thing stayed constant. Queer resistance was never passive. It was strategic, local, embodied, and deeply human. These weren't abstract protests. They were neighbors protecting neighbors, bodies in streets, truth spoken where it wasn't welcome. And that history still speaks. And lately I've noticed this pattern where I open up Instagram and I'm just looking for something light, and suddenly I am swallowed into this really awful news swing cycle, downward spiral, clips of ICE agents doing things that are crazy, things that just don't feel normal, things that I was taught weren't supposed to happen here in America. And I'm sitting there, phone in my hand, feeling this heavy mix of sadness and fear and a kind of hopelessness that just settles here in my chest. And before I even realize it, I'm there. And the only thing that pulls me out of that spiral is a little bit of optimism, yes, but a lot of it has to do with looking back and remembering the past. I just have to look at queer history and think all of the times our community has stared down forces that wanted us erased or controlled or tried to disappear us or keep us silent, and how over and over queer people don't just survive. We organized, we resisted, we got clever, we get loud, and of course artistic and very strategic. And that's when this list of protest tactics stops feeling like history and starts feeling like a toolkit. Queer resistance has always been local. It's been neighbors watching out for neighbors. It's been everyone in the bar protecting everyone in the bar. People saying, not here, not today. And that matters right now, especially right now, when disconnection is what allows this cruelty to thrive. Systems like ICE depend on silence, on people looking away, on assuming that someone else will step in. Learning how to say no has not been easy for me. There was a time when I'd replay moments for days after thinking about what I should have said in the moment. And that distance between the moment and my response used to be huge. I mean, like a week, right? I get into some sort of disturbance and some sort of altercation, and it would take me a week to actually process and think of how could I have said no? How could I have stood up? How could I have presented what I thought was fair? But slowly that time and distance from that moment to figuring it out has shortened. And I've learned that growth doesn't look like perfection. It is more like reflection. If you don't speak up in that moment, don't beat yourself up, but you've got to reflect on it. You have to ask yourself what you were feeling in that moment. What did your body feel like? Where did you freeze up? And what might help you get just one step closer to speaking up in the moment next time? And the next time you'll be a little braver, because we need you to be brave and bold and to speak up. And one thing I know for certain is that it is better to speak up now than to live in a world where no one does. And queer history has taught me so much. But this one thing, documentation matters. Visibility matters. And if you can't intervene safely or you're just not quite there yet, you can witness and you can record. You can tell your neighbors And all of our history's uprisings and marches matter because someone took the photo, someone printed the leaflet, and someone told the story of what happened. We're still here because people refuse to let the truth disappear. So please, whip out your phone and document. And if you hold privilege, there's responsibility in that. Progress often pushes through struggles when the people with more privilege who can speak up do. And for me, this all comes down to boundaries. Learning to trust that feeling in your gut when something doesn't feel right. Remembering that resistance doesn't have to be grand to be meaningful. It just has to come from a place of kindness, compassion, and true intention. Queer people have been practicing this for generations, and when I remember that, it makes me feel less alone, less hopeless, and more ready to stand my ground when it matters. Thanks for joining me for this video. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. And if you want more queer history, watch this video popping up right over here. And you can also check out myqueerbirthday.com and you'll find more queer icons and events that happened on your birthday. The link is down in the description below. Until next time, stay strong, stay bold, and keep making history.